Oh, hey.
Bing, bing,
oh,
bing, bing,
wow.
bing, bing.
Hold on.
This is a
Go.
big ding.
Go.
That is actually a big
Go.
ding.
Mike Scotto
Mike.
at HoopSite. The Sixers and free agent center Andre Drummond have agreed to a 2-year, $10+ million deal. Drummond gets a player option year 2, and that is now followed up by Shams Charania. Same language. I would bet you they got it from the same place. Andre Drummond is back.
So
There you go.
again, when
Backup centers. They're tearing up the market right now in free agency frenzy here.
Now that gives and it's an even stronger indication that Paul Reed
Yeah.
yes,
is out.
but I think that might be an indication that there's not a trade now. I want to rephrase that they might be looking to trade Paul Reed, because if they go that path with the cap space, with Paul George at the max slot, they would have almost exactly $5 million left if they keep Paul Reed on the books. So I wonder if they're planning for the possibility that they might then trade Paul Reed. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, if you trade out Paul Reed's $7.7 million contract, you can get back up to $15 million in return. I wonder if this is an indication that they're going that route.
So
They could also just use cap space. Anything could happen.
as for the player, we know the Sixers were in for him at the deadline. Not only in for him, they believe they had a deal done for Andre Drummond.
Mm-hmm.
They believe this is an archetype of player that is valuable for this team, especially when you consider that Joel Embiid frequently misses time. Drummond has proven that he can be the NBA equivalent of an innings eater type pitcher, right? He can be a solid option as a starter, very solid option as a backup guy. And more importantly, it gives them the flexibility to play different sorts of players behind Joel, right? So you have Drummond. He's the big, can body up the more traditional centers. There aren't many of them left, but there are some important ones, especially on the teams that are vying for championship contention.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have an option like Bona or Reed, as Derek said, is more than likely being moved if we're reading into this here. But Bona is the more high speed, rim running, up tempo, athletic shot blocking type that will have issues against the bigger guys, but can maybe pair with Tyrese Maxey as you bring him along. I would assume he also probably spends time in the G League this year. So yeah. Drummond gives you the veteran cover that you're looking for. Rebounding, obviously a big strength of his that's been a problem for the Sixers throughout this recent era of basketball. So I like it. Although, so Derek,
I'm gonna be honest, I don't love it.
I don't love the money.
Yes.
I would say that. I like the player. I was expecting if they brought him back that would be a minimum type situation.
Yes. I like this a lot more on a minimum. And it's not just because $5 million is too much. It's because you only have so many different avenues, so many different basically cap space slots that you can use. Prioritizing it, one of those few slots on a backup center. I was hopeful they could get this done on a minimum contract. I liked it a lot more on a minimum contract. Like Kyle said, with Bona, I like the sort of like scheme diversity, especially on defense. But I'm just going to be honest. I'm not a huge Andre Drummond fan. I think he's pretty overrated. I think he's a bad defender.
Ooh, here we go. Throwing some turds in the punch bowl over there, Bodner.
Again, as a minimum contract, I would have been fine with it as one of your few salary cap slots.
But one of the things you do
lukewarm on.
But one of the things you do talk about when you speak about the backup center position and people going nuts about the $8 million that Paul Reed was getting, this is $5.
But it comes to the same problem of it's eating into one of your cap slots.
It could be one of the reasons we're hearing about Nick Batum. Yeah, that some of that
I certainly would not prioritize Drummond over Batum.
Well, that's for sure. But yeah, like the player. I like the player more than Derek does, just because.
I agree.
Now, in a playoff setting, I'm not a big Andre Drummond guy.
Right.
I think we've seen that.
So if you're telling me the playoff backup center is not solved,
one of the priorities of backup center is just give Joel breaks and find ways to win games in the regular season, because you have to lean on him heavily in the playoffs.
If I'm going to use one of my few salary cap slots, I just want to be confident.
It's
in
a fair concern. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just there are different viewpoints.
But I know Andre Drummond's a real popular person in the chat and among Sixers fans.
I think it's just more because of the fact that you just want a comparable. You want somebody behind Joel Embiid that can play basketball. You want to see Mo Bamba back out there on the floor. Yes, but people also don't want to see it in regular season when Embiid, as Kyle said, it's some insurance, gets hurt, and you're going back and forth between Mo Bamba and Paul George, and we're saying, you know what, Nick Batum is a better closing center at the 5 because you can't trust either one of them.
Look, if the bar is Mo Bamba, yeah, I like him better than Mo Bamba. Sure. I wanted it on a minimum contract.
Fair.
That's my thing.
Absolutely fair.
We all silly like the mayor.